All right, drivers and dashers, take a journey with me back in time to August of 2021, where DoorDash was temporarily offering $700 to dashers. That's right. It was confirmed. It was real. I didn't believe it at first, but it's true. So for a quick reminder, let's go check out what the information was.
Let's jump on into the email, Triple Lindy, Thornton Mellon style. So this comes from our buddy, Michael Robb. That's right. Now, this right here is some solid news, folks, okay? And it's really interesting that this is coming out now within a week or so of hearing, remember Tom? I did a few videos about him where he came up with a concept for a new pay model and sent it to DoorDash, sent it to Tony Xu and the operations team. And then the operations team responded to him. Well, if you haven't seen that video, go back and check it out. Listen to what Michael Robb has to say about what he received in his email. All right. So he goes, "Hey, Pete, after watching the video about Tony Xu's response to the pay model concept, I wanted to send you this email drivers received. It is guaranteed. It's a guaranteed earnings program, not a bonus, but it's not a pay model, but it's an earning program. Basically, for me, it might be between 75 and 150 at the 130 level. Please read the fine print and see the little statement that if you qualify for a level and do more, your bonus will be based on your DoorDash pay for every delivery you do and not just what you had at the delivery total level." Why do they do this crap? So if you hit 120 deliveries, you will be working against yourself until you hit 130. As far as the program he suggested to Tony, it cannot be tied at all to tips, since that was the biggest reason the pay model was changed in October of 2019. So listen to this. So this may work out great for some and not so great for others, but check this out. So without showing all of his stuff here, just so you can see it's legit, the DoorDash logo and all that stuff. So guaranteed earnings. Michael, you're eligible for guaranteed earnings this week. No matter how much you decide to dash, we want to provide you with a reliable way to earn. We are offering 3 different guaranteed structures this week. So today through Friday, earn at least $285 in DoorDash pay if you complete 65 deliveries, or earn at least $500 in DoorDash pay if you complete 100 deliveries, or earn at least $700 in DoorDash pay if you complete 130 deliveries. So how it works. Number 1, you start dashing, hit the road and dash. To be eligible for guaranteed earnings, you will need to complete a minimum of 65 deliveries in your area between this week. You can earn even more, up to $700 for completing 130 deliveries. Number 2, enjoy your earnings. At the end of the week, we'll review your total earnings, and if you completed the number of deliveries outlined in one of the offers above, but earned less than the guaranteed amount, DoorDash pay, not including tips, will pay you the difference. You will see the additional payment in your account by the end of the week, and you will only be paid for one offer. If you have any more questions, contact them. So, what do we think about this? Well, look. You, as a driver, okay, or as a dasher, don't have to follow this kind of a program here. You can obviously keep doing whatever it is that you're doing that's working for you. However, I will say, it's nice that DoorDash is trying to do little things here and there to, make up for lost time of not being so transparent. So in my opinion, I think this is a step in the right direction. Is it a pay model change? No. But I do find it interesting that coincidentally enough, within a week or so of Tom sending that off to Tony Xu, that now they're offering a program. It's not a pay model, but it's a program where they're saying if you do X amount of deliveries, we'll guarantee you this much. So for all the dashers watching in the chat or the comments, Is this something that you think is a good thing or a bad thing? I'm going to say I think it's neutral, if anything. But I would lean more towards good, because at least they're saying you're going to get guaranteed this much. Now, keep in mind, for you multi-appers out there, if you do those 130 deliveries or whatever, let's say, in that week's time, you can get that $700 plus whatever you make on GrubHub and Uber Eats. So you might be making $1,000 for the week. I'm just saying, like combined. That's what I always say. Always diversify. Always make sure you're on as many apps as possible, period. So let me know your thoughts down below.
And there you have it, as Dino would say, from saying it like it is. Now, this is my follow-up to this whole thing they had here, where they were offering the $700 to drivers. Why has it been so long since they brought that back? I have two questions. One, is it because it didn't work out? Or number two, is it because it cost them too much money? Because as we all know, DoorDash, GrubHub, Uber Eats, all these companies, at the end of the day, they're businesses, and they want their bottom line to be the top priority, and not us. And that's where the huge problem lies. Drivers, dashers, do you think they should bring back this $700 program here or not? And did you take part in it or not? We got to talk about this in the chat or the comments below.
So this comes from Chad, and he says, hey, Pete, my name is Chad. Don't care if you use it. I'm a recent subscriber, so I don't know if you've covered this topic. Most of the YouTube videos I see are of dashers that seem to be in bigger cities with more platforms where you don't take less than $1 per mile. Now, let me just pause for a second. There is a lot of truth to what Chad is saying here. Now, I myself have always lived in a suburban / metropolitan area, and the area in the city area where the most, where the most restaurants are, where the majority of the orders are, a lot of the restaurants are there, and then, they're delivered within the city, and then, into the outskirts, into the suburbs. But we don't have like farmland around here, like in the direct radius, in like a 10-mile radius, once you go out and go further upstate is when you start getting into the more rural areas. So right now in the chat or the comments, are you in a city area? Or are you in a more rural area where there's more like farmland and it's more spread out? Let me know right now in the chat or the comments. Sadly, since I live in a more rural area, everything is spread out really far at times, and DoorDash is the only platform available here. Any tips on how to make money in a rural area? And then he goes, also, as a wrestling fan myself, I appreciate the references, brother. And that's the bottom line, because paid to drive said so, brother. So, Chad, you're awesome for being a wrestling fan, especially from the good times, not the current stuff these days. AEW doesn't count anymore, by the way. Anyway, tips in a rural area. When you are in an area that's extremely spread out from, I can't speak from experience on that because that's not where I deliver, but I have talked to several drivers over the years that do work in those areas like yours. And what they say is the following. They usually say, you got to know your market well, and you got to know the places that will, be the busiest, and to stay around those, like in the town area, because usually every rural area has a town or a few towns surrounding it. And those are the places you're going to want to hang around, because wherever the restaurants are or wherever the merchants are, that's where you're going to want to be, naturally. But with that being said, on top of that, sometimes switching your market altogether, driving a little further away, is the answer. Because let me tell you, I've seen plenty of drivers over the years that tell me, they'll email me, leave comments, or I just read it on social media. They'll say, where I work it's too slow. It's just too dead. There's not enough going on. So if they're a dasher, it's much easier. They'll go and drive a half an hour, 45 minutes away, an hour away. I've known people to do it. where they'll drive to where the money is, and for them, it makes sense. Like, the miles pay for itself. So with that being the case, guys, I'll tell you straight up, if there's nothing busy going on in your market, you can't be the one to drive up the business. If the business isn't there, if the orders aren't there, you have to go to where the orders are. And that's not necessarily the answer everyone wants to hear, but it is a reality. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, going over more of your feedback from a previous video from a little while back, you remember the one where I was talking about how DoorDash drivers were being forced to accept the new DoorDash terms before every single order? I never went over the feedback on that. So this is what you guys had to say, and I also have a follow-up for it. So Roger Eddington, a very loyal viewer to the channel, said, "It happened to me yesterday. I'm in the South Bend, Indiana market. I was ready to dash and didn't have a chance to stop and read it. I hope I didn't agree to anything too bad. Last time I signed up for something that I was I was congratulated by the recruiter for joining the U.S. Navy." Roger, I hear you on that, man. Matt Boland said, "This happened to me on Sunday before I started my dash. It was an amended agreement to the original one we agreed to. I tried reading as much as I could in 15 minutes, but not enough time to read into the fine details before the app would have kicked me off the Dash platform. Definitely shady, and perhaps most would agree, having to do this under a state of duress since you were unable to dash until you agreed. Pete, keep in mind, my market is just across the river from yours, so if it didn't happen to you, then it's only a matter of time that it probably will." I'm telling you, so Matt is a fellow New Yorker, evidently, and it's true. Like, the way they just sent it out so quickly with, like, you know, without anyone really having any, notice about it, and it was like right in the middle of people's shifts. It was messed up. The rookie chef, Young Reno, said, "It's definitely true, Pete. I got this notice yesterday, and like so many, I agreed to it without reading because you need to make money. The new agreement is super long to read, of course, and don't hit that don't agree button thinking you're buying time because you'll get deactivated right after. That I didn't know. So we are pretty much forced whether you whether you read it and agree or not. Good luck, everyone." See, that was the part I didn't know, that if you clicked don't agree, that you get deactivated instantly. That's messed up. Matt Higman said, "I was in the middle of a delivery and was logged off. That's when the new contract agreement showed up. I had to accept it just to get back to the dash I was in the middle of delivering. Shady stuff." That's what I'm saying. Like, people were literally in the middle of deliveries, and it's like, "Hey, you got to agree to these new terms, otherwise we're going to deactivate you." You know, it's like, bro, what? Dash for Cash said, "Pete, you hit the nail on the head with the comment you brought up about this being in an email issue dropped on us when we can read and try to decipher all the legal mumbo jumbo that this agreement entailed. When I'm ready to dash, I'm pumped and don't want to have to read the equivalent of a Declaration of Independence before I can hit the road. So, like many others, pop the agree tab, having no idea what I was agreeing to, but at least I was able to start my scheduled dash. You may have noticed I emphasized I only agreed since I needed to work ASAP, but in the back of my mind, I knew I was falling for another one of DoorDash's scams. What better way to get dashers to agree with something that they won't even read knowing that they're agreeing to? 100% Dash for Cash. Dash Rip Rock said, "I'm in Michigan and had to agree twice. The main thing in it is that you can't be part of any class action lawsuit against DoorDash. You agree to that." Another thing I had no idea about. And finally, Janelle S. said, "It happened to me as well when I started my shift last night in Denver, Colorado. It made me feel some type of way, so I only dashed a few hours, then switched over to work Uber Eats the rest of my shift." Now, look at that right there. People are getting so disgusted that they're just like, you know what, screw DoorDash. I'm just going to go work Uber Eats, or I'm going to go work GrubHub or another app. You know what I mean? So, Dashers, what are your thoughts? Have you seen this agreement pop up any other times recently, depending on when you're watching this video? Or was that only a while back when that first happened? Keep your feedback coming, because I love the feedback. We need the feedback from people all over the country so we can kind of get like an average and figure out what everyone has to say about it, you know, and just future topics as well.